When you buy your first house, you think the biggest worry will be the mortgage. Turns out it's your neighbors. I'm Cal Weaver, 37, construction project manager, newly single, and proud owner of a modest 2-story home in Hawthorne Bluffs. An HOA community with rules so detailed, they could regulate the curvature of a blade of grass. I bought the place for the garage, a double bay with enough space for my 92 Silverado, my toolbox, and a shelf full of spare parts I've been promising myself I'll organize someday. For the first 2 weeks, life was great. The street was quiet, lawns manicured, and every morning I'd wave to retirees walking their dogs like clockwork. Then, on the 15th day, it happened. I came home from a job site, dusty, tired, and craving cold beer, and found a bright orange notice slapped dead center on my garage door. Violation notice, unauthorized vehicle storage, immediate removal required, HOA regulation, 14B. At first I thought maybe it was a mistake. After all, my truck was inside the garage, not parked outside, not leaking oil, not blocking anything. But nope. When I peeled the notice off, I saw it was signed in perfect cursive. Denise Claremont, HOA president. I called the number listed at the bottom. She answered on the first ring. Mrs. Claremont speaking. Hi, this is Cal Weaver from 1128, I said, trying to keep it polite. I got a notice about vehicle storage. My truck's inside my garage. How's that a violation? She sighed like I'd just asked her to solve quantum physics. Mr. Weaver, our bylaws clearly prohibit commercial vehicles on private property. It's a personal truck. It has signage, she snapped. The word Weaver Construction on the side makes it commercial. We can't have that bringing down community aesthetics. I blinked. It's inside my garage. You can't even see it. Well, she replied, in that voice HOA presidents use when they think they're the law. Visibility isn't the only concern. Presence matters. Presence, I repeated. Yes, the rule applies whether or not the vehicle is visible. If it's stored on HOA property, it must comply. That includes your garage. I laughed. I couldn't help it. She didn't. By the next morning, another notice appeared. This one in bold red. Final warning. Vehicle to be towed at owner's expense if not removed within 24 hours. I stood there, coffee in hand, reading it like it was a prank. Then I heard the whir of a golf cart. Denise herself rolled up, wearing a sun visor and the kind of confidence only people with too much free time have. She had a clipboard, a walkie-talkie, and a small crowd of HOA board members in tow, literally in the golf cart behind her. Good morning, Mr. Weaver, she chirped. I do hope you've made arrangements to remove your vehicle. My truck, I said, leaning on the fence. It's not going anywhere. It's in my garage, where vehicles live. Her smile tightened. Then I suppose we'll have to handle it for you. That's when I noticed, parked down the block, a flatbed tow truck, engine idling. I laughed again, but this time there was no humor in it. They weren't bluffing. Denise lifted her walkie-talkie. Unit 3, stand by for garage access. I stepped forward. Touch that garage and you'll regret it. She tilted her head. We're well within our rights, and that's when it hit me. They were actually going to try and tow my truck from inside my garage, so I walked over, calmly, quietly, and locked the door from the inside. Then I picked up my phone and said, All right, Mrs. Claremont, let's see what the actual law says about that. I dialed the sheriff's office. By the time the sheriff's cruiser rolled into Hawthorne Bluffs, Denise and her clipboard army were in full formation outside my driveway. 2 board members stood at the end of the street like traffic marshals. Another was taking pictures, and Denise, visor still gleaming, was standing right next to my garage like she was about to claim it for the HOA empire. When the sheriff stepped out, he looked tired. You could tell this wasn't his first HOA rodeo. Morning, he said, adjusting his belt. Got a call about a dispute over a vehicle. That would be me, I said. They're trying to tow my truck from my own garage. Denise immediately cut in. Correction, Sheriff Lawson. We are enforcing community regulations. This man is in violation of Article 14B. The vehicle in question is a commercial truck, which... The sheriff held up a hand. Ma'am, I haven't even seen the situation yet. I unlocked the garage door slowly, like I was revealing a crime scene. The sunlight hit my Silverado. Dusty, loyal, and perfectly still. Not a sound, not a drip of oil, not even the faintest smell of gasoline. Here's the menace to society, I said, waving at the truck. Lawson scratched his chin. You said this was parked inside? Yes, sir. He turned to Denise. And you're saying this violates something? Denise puffed up like a blowfish. Article 14B. No commercial vehicles shall be stored, visible, or present on community property. Lawson looked around. Community property? This looks like private property to me. Denise tightened her grip on her clipboard. All property in Hawthorne Bluffs falls under the HOA charter, even garages. He stared at her, then he turned to me. She's serious? Oh, she's dead serious, I said. They already brought a tow truck. Lawson took off his sunglasses, looked straight at her and said, Ma'am, unless this garage is community-owned, which it's not, you're trespassing. That made Denise twitch. We have authority. No, you don't, Lawson interrupted. You have bylaws, not badges. Big difference. Behind her, one of the HOA board members whispered, Told you we should have sent an email first. Denise shot her a death glare. Lawson walked toward the tow truck driver, who was awkwardly pretending to check his straps. Son, if you even touch that garage door, I'll write you up for trespassing too. The driver nodded, muttered something like, not worth it, and started backing the truck up. Denise's smile cracked like glass. This isn't over, Mr. Weaver. You're setting a dangerous precedent. Oh, I hope so, I said. Maybe people will stop being afraid of you. She jabbed her finger toward my chest. You'll be hearing from the compliance committee. Can't wait, I said. Should I bake cookies? The sheriff coughed to hide a laugh. All right, folks, let's wrap this up before I start writing tickets for harassment. The crowd slowly dispersed, golf carts retreating down the cul-de-sac like defeated soldiers. Denise stayed a few seconds longer, staring at me through her oversized sunglasses. You think you've won, Mr. Weaver, she said quietly, but we always find a way. Then she left, and that's when I knew this wasn't over, because 2 days later, I got an email from the HOA with the subject line, Formal Hearing, Property Compliance Review. The formal compliance hearing was scheduled for Saturday morning at 9 a.m. because apparently HOA justice doesn't sleep in on weekends. The email said attendance was mandatory and failure to appear would result in disciplinary escalation. Still not sure what that meant. Maybe exile from the neighborhood bake sale. So there I was, 8:55 a.m., walking into the Maple Bluffs Community Center, a converted storage shed with folding chairs, fluorescent lighting, and a faint smell of wet carpet and expired coffee creamer. At the front sat the HOA board like they were the Supreme Court of suburbia. Denise Carroll was, of course, presiding. She wore her HOA president sash again, this time over a blazer the exact shade of aggression, red. To her left sat Todd, the treasurer, who once fined someone for leaving a garden hose uncoiled. To her right, Martha, the secretary, who recorded every meeting like she was archiving war crimes. I sat down across from them. My phone was already recording, for documentation purposes, as they like to say. Denise cleared her throat with the authority of someone who practiced power in the mirror. Mr. Weaver, she began, this hearing concerns your repeated violations of Article 14b, unauthorized storage of a commercial vehicle. I smiled. You mean my personal truck in my private garage? Todd interjected. The HOA defines a commercial vehicle as any automobile capable of carrying tools, equipment, or materials associated with a business. So, basically every truck in existence, I said. Martha chimed in. We also received complaints about you filming the sheriff on community property. Oh, you mean my driveway? I asked, where Denise tried to have my vehicle towed illegally. Denise's nostrils flared. You're bordering on insubordination, Mr. Weaver. I didn't realize this was the military, I said. Am I supposed to salute? That earned a visible gasp from Martha, who wrote something in the minutes, probably defiant tone. Denise clicked her pen like a weapon. We have authority to levy fines, and if necessary, place a lien on your property. I leaned forward. Actually, no, you don't. Section 8(c) of your own charter says the HOA can't impose liens without a verified violation affecting community safety or property value. Unless you can prove my truck somehow made the neighborhood uglier or dangerous, you've got nothing. For a brief, beautiful moment, silence filled the room. Todd started flipping through the binder like a man searching for a parachute mid-fall. Martha whispered something about double-checking precedent. Denise smiled tightly like someone trying to keep her composure in front of witnesses. Mr. Weaver, she said, are you implying that the board doesn't understand its own regulations? I pulled a printed copy of the bylaws from my folder, her own document, and slid it across the table. The line was highlighted in neon yellow. I'm not implying, I said. I'm quoting. Todd's lips silently read the section twice. Martha adjusted her glasses and frowned. Denise's smile finally cracked. You think you're clever? She hissed. I don't have to be clever, I said, just literate. Even Todd snorted at that. Before pretending to cough, I stood up, gathering my papers. Unless you have anything else, I'll be on my way. I've got a driveway to defend. Denise's voice followed me to the door. This isn't over, Mr. Weaver. The board reserves the right to further investigation. I turned back, smirking. Good. You might finally find something worth investigating, like your power trip. And I walked out to the sound of a coffee mug being slammed onto the table. That night I noticed something strange. A notice taped to my garage door, typed in bold caps. Vehicle violation. Community access denied until further review. And underneath it, in neat handwriting, don't test me, DC. That's when I realized Denise wasn't done. She'd stopped trying to beat me with rules and was about to start playing dirty. Oh, the next morning, I woke up to a sound no homeowner wants to hear. The low rumble of a tow truck engine idling outside. I threw open my blinds and there it was again. Same company, same driver, same clipboard, and standing proudly beside him, arms crossed like a dictator inspecting her troops. Denise Carroll, HOA president, still wearing that damn sash. This time, she'd brought backup. 2 board members, a camera, and, I kid you not, a drone hovering above my driveway like it was filming an episode of HOA Wars. I stepped outside with my phone recording. Morning, Denise. Back to seize the garage again? She didn't even blink. We've escalated this matter, Mr. Weaver. You refused compliance. The board voted unanimously to enforce property access. By breaking into my garage? I asked. She lifted a key fob triumphantly. Universal HOA access key, granted for emergencies. That's funny, I said, because I changed my locks last week. Her smile faltered. That's tampering with authorized entry. Actually, I said, cutting her off, that's called home security. You remember that sheriff from last time? He does too. I dialed Sheriff Lawson's number right there on speaker. Within 10 minutes, the cruiser rolled up again, lights flashing. Same sheriff, same sigh, same, why am I dealing with this again? Energy. Lawson stepped out and said flatly, Ma'am, you again. Denise straightened up. This homeowner is obstructing community enforcement. He looked at me. What did she do this time? I pointed at the tow truck. Attempted theft. Again. Denise's voice went shrill. This is lawful compliance. We voted. Lawson pinched the bridge of his nose. You can't vote to break into someone's home, ma'am. At that exact moment, my phone buzzed with a notification from the county property appraiser's website. The one I'd emailed the night before. I'd filed a complaint, not as a resident, but as a licensed property owner under state homeowner protection laws. And attached, every piece of evidence, the video from the last incident, the audio from the hearing, and that little note she left on my door. Don't test me. Lawson's radio crackled. Dispatch confirms. County code enforcement and civil court reps are en route. Denise froze. Excuse me? Yep, Lawson said, crossing his arms. Turns out threatening residents, falsifying enforcement authority, and attempting to seize private property counts as criminal harassment and civil violation. 2 white SUVs pulled in moments later. County officials. One of them, clipboard in hand, asked to see Denise's authorization documents. She handed over a binder like it contained the Constitution. They flipped through it, paused, and asked, Ma'am, where is the state registration for your HOA enforcement rights? She blinked. We don't need that. Actually, the official said, you do. This association's authority expired 2 years ago. You've been operating without legal standing. Todd, the treasurer, who'd been standing behind her, whispered, Wait, what? The official continued. Any fines or notices issued since then are invalid, and any attempts at enforcement are unlawful. Denise went pale. That can't be right. I renewed that myself. No record on file, he said calmly. You've been president of a defunct HOA. You could have heard a pin drop. Lawson turned to me with the faintest grin. Well, Mr. Weaver, looks like your garage is officially sovereign territory. I saluted. Glad to serve. The county official began documenting the scene while the tow truck quietly reversed down the street. Denise stood there, clipboard trembling in her hand, muttering, I was protecting the community. Lawson just shook his head. Ma'am, you're under investigation for harassment, trespassing, and impersonating an enforcement officer. You might want to call a lawyer. They didn't cuff her. Not yet. But as the county vehicles pulled away, Denise's empire crumbled right there in her own cul-de-sac. Within a week, a notice went out to all residents. Effective immediately, Maple Bluff's HOA is dissolved pending legal review. No more surprise fines, no more drones, no more Denise. And as poetic justice, guess who was appointed temporary property liaison by the county until new oversight could be formed? Yeah, me. So now, every time I open my garage, my truck gleams proudly under the morning sun, untouched, unbothered, and absolutely legal. And as for Denise, her house went up for sale 3 months later. Listing said, "Beautiful community property, peaceful neighborhood." I left a review on the real estate site that simply read, "Buyer beware, garage access not included."